Now let's talk about some of the things that you can do to strengthen your immune system in regards to any kind of viral infection, right? And so the COVID-19 virus, coronavirus, is not different from any other coronavirus. And insofar we can look at the experience that we have around fighting viral infections in humans and take some of the steps that really matter and have an influence in boosting the immune system. Because the most important thing is to keep in mind regarding surviving viral infections and really combating them as best as possible is like the medical system has no cure for infections like these. There's no like pill or injection that just magically gets rid of all the viruses in your body. Even if there is some treatment which reduces the impact that the infection has, you still fundamentally depend on the body's own immune system to fight that virus, right? These antibodies have to be produced in order to not only fight off the current infection but prevent reinfection at a later point. So in my opinion, and that's for sure just my personal opinion and not medical advice, is that there are two main categories, two main factors one should consider, which is for one, healthy nutrition, and for two, good rest, right? So when it comes to healthy nutrition, I'm very passionate about the field of nutrition. And when it comes to nutrition, I think it's a good principle to assume that with any bite that you take in regards to food, you should get as much of the essential nutrients as possible, right? And one of those things that really, one of those packages that nature provides that gives you most, if not all, of the essential nutrients are fruits, sweet fruits in particular. And so they give you for example, the vitamin C and a lot of other vitamins and the amino acids and of course some fat as well. And the great benefit about sweet fruit is that it's very, very easy to digest, right? And of course it's important to keep your system clean and to not have old food in your stomach, which may interfere in the digestive process. But when you are infected, let's assume you are infected, don't be surprised to not feel a lot of hunger, right? Because the body tends to shut other systems down to conserve energy in order to fight or tackle a particular issue which it considers more important. And if that's fighting an infection, it can be that you do not have a lot of appetite for anything and might not even eat much for multiple days or even a week. And this is not really concerning in and of itself. You shouldn't force yourself to eat if you really don't feel like you want to eat anything. I can still remember when I must have been like 5 or 6 years old and I was sick, lying in bed, and my mother was caring for me, and I wasn't feeling like eating anything, but she was like, "Oh, you gotta eat." And so she brought me some muesli, which, she really only prepares when somebody's sick, which is kind of odd, right? Why would I eat differently when I'm sick than when I'm not? So, and I had that kind of muesli, and an hour later I was vomiting, and when you disregard your body's appetite in the moment, you might end up vomiting, getting rid of what you just ate once again, and that's your body asserting what it really needs in the moment. And I think it's wise to respect that, to respect your body in that regard. Now, when it comes to nutrients, there's also the issue of vitamin D, and that's of particular relevance at the moment. It's not only because vitamin D, of course, plays into the proper functioning of the immune system, but also in a lot of other vital functions in the body, one of which is calcium absorption. And the problem is that since half the world is in quarantine, we tend to not be outdoors much anymore. I mean, I don't know what your legal situation is in your particular country. I mean, in my country, in Germany, you're still allowed to go outdoors for good reason or for recreational purposes, right? So vitamin D3 only can really be acquired through exposure to sun rays, because then the skin has the ability to facilitate this production of vitamin D. And through diet, you can only get insufficient amounts of vitamin D, and only found in animal products, which I don't recommend consuming at all. So I think really pay attention to proper sun exposure, especially because many, if not more than half of the population in the Western countries, where there isn't a particular great amount of sunlight in general, the issue of vitamin D deficiency seems to be very prevalent, and you can look up the Vitamin D Council on that. They have very good information on how much vitamin D you need, whether you might be deficient or not, if you should be taking supplements, or if you can make it happen to just go outdoors more and expose your skin more to the sun, especially during midday, because it is relevant what kind of quality of sunlight it is. If it's sunrise, sunset, near these ends of the day, then there you get much less of a vitamin D production, because the constellation, the type of sun rays that reach your skin are not the types, I think it's the UVB light rays that you most need for vitamin D production, and they are higher during when the sun is at a higher angle. So that's all important. If you can't leave the house, maybe you can open the window and get some sun rays through the window. I mean, anything helps. I can remember one winter where I didn't get a lot of sun rays and I wasn't taking any supplements, and one day I woke up with rough teeth, and something felt really odd. And it must have been the same day that I went out and got all the sunlight that I could in December or January, whatever that was. And it did the trick, because I have heard other people talk about this kind of teeth issue. Suddenly they become rough, something odd is going on, and this can be vitamin D related, because vitamin D plays into calcium absorption and the mineral management within the body. Now let's talk a little bit about rest, because that's a thing that we really don't have good excuses anymore to not get enough of, right? I mean, it doesn't cost anything for us to get the rest that we need. And I'm going to post in the description 2 videos which really had a dramatic impact on how I thought about rest and sleep in regards to immune system function, because there seems to be pretty strong evidence suggesting that sleep is absolutely vital in regards to immune system functioning. So I definitely took that kind of influence as an incentive to change my sleep cycle. I go to bed earlier, because it appears as if the sleep you get earlier, right, during the evening, is of great importance and of higher quality in a way than if you were to go to bed at 1 a.m. or something, right? So aim to go to bed a little earlier, and of course ideally we sleep in, right? There's no alarm clock, so the body gets all the sleep that it needs, and I'd definitely recommend at least 7.5 hours, right? And really, but at the end of the day, it should be your body that you let decide how much sleep to get, because there is no such thing as too much sleep. There is no such thing as too much sleep, right? So if you allow yourself to sleep a long time, and you may end up sleeping for 12 hours, don't expect that to be, that's not gonna last. That's not gonna last. That may be the case when you're sleep deficient, and so definitely that's one thing we can all do, I think, to get really good rest. I've already done a video about 3 things that I never sleep well without, and I definitely recommend to check that out. I'm very, very concerned about not only the pandemic itself, but more about the economic impact that this is going to have, that may cost a lot more lives than the pandemic itself. So I'm following this very closely, and I hope it's going to work out just fine. That being said, I think we are entering an economic depression. The economic markers and the signs are not looking good. So we better stay strong. We better stay healthy, right? So take care.